share my screen.
This meeting is being recorded.
And sharing my screen. Can everybody see my screen?
Yes.
Yeah.
All righty. So as we're wont to say, California is a two-party state. So if you don't want to be recorded, we would ask that you exit the meeting. So today we're going to talk about taking tricks in a suit contract, and in particular, roughing in dummy. We'll see later, it shouldn't really say in dummy, but it's good enough for now. So first I want to define terms. Rough is a verb. It means to play a card in the trump suit, taking a trick that the opponents were going to win. And a synonym for that is to trump. And you know me, I like to put images on my opening screen that are aligned with the title. And so I did a Google search of Trump in dummy, and there's nothing I can share. So,
This is really too funny for right now.
so let's look at an example of roughing or trumping a loser in dummy. So let's imagine that we're sitting in South and we're playing a 4-spade contract, and that we got the opening lead of the Queen of Diamonds. So let's take a look at South's hand. The spade suit is solid. Well, we got no losers in spades. That's good. The King of Diamonds kind of covers the 8 of diamonds. We're not going to lose the 8 of diamonds. We're going to take that trick with the king. And one of the small hearts, we're not going to lose that trick because we're going to take that trick with the king. I'll use these arrows again next week when I talk about planning the play of a suit contract. This is my visual mental model of how dummy helps cover your losers. But unfortunately, there's these other 4 cards in our hand that smell like the bad guys can take those tricks. So it looks like the bad guys might take 3 tricks in clubs, and they might take 1 trick in hearts. So the musical question is there anything we can do about the heart loser?
You have to play trump.
Yeah, the answer is look back at the title of the presentation. First step, we'll take away the opponent's trumps, because it's always a good idea to take away the opponent. Well, not always. We'll see that later. We'll take away the opponent's trumps, and let's assume for simplicity they split or divide 2-2 or 3-1. And then we'll rough the heart loser in dummy. The way we'll do this is we'll lead over to the king, and that's playing high from the short side. And then we will lead back to the ace. And the reason we do it in that order is so we end up where we want to be. I think of this as getting the king out of the way. So we go over to the king, get it out of the way. We come back to the ace, and now we can lead our last little heart and rough it or trump it in dummy. And this loser went away, and we made 4 spades. Questions, comments? Everybody done that? Everybody going to do that in the future?
Yeah.
Try.
Absolutely. Okay, so let's look at a second example. It's a very similar hand. And again, we'll look at South, and the spade suit is solid, got no losers in the spade suit. The 8 of diamonds, we don't have to worry about because it's covered by the king. But it looks like the defense might take 3 tricks in clubs, and this time 2 tricks in hearts. What's different about dummy this time? Well, the great dealer in the sky gave us only 1 heart in dummy.
Right.
Yeah.
So our plan about the heart losers is let us trump not just 1, but let's trump 2 of these in dummy. So once we play the ace of hearts, let me see if I can do my annotation thing. Once we play the ace of hearts and the 5 goes away, now we can lead the 6 and trump it, and we'll come back to our hand, maybe with a diamond, and we'll lead the other heart and we'll trump it. And I ignored calling trump here. And now I have to turn that silly thing off. Okay, whoops, it didn't clear. I wish I really knew what I was doing. There we go.
There you go.
So yes, we can do something about the heart losers. We'll ruff both of the hearts in dummy. We'll win the ace and we'll ruff one heart in dummy. And then we'll come back to our hand like I showed, and we'll ruff the second heart in dummy.
Yeah, but you can only do that if the spades split in a.
Hey, who's
You know.
cheating? No, I'm sorry. Who's my plant?
This, that's Kaya.
Kaya, that's an excellent observation. If the spades split 3-1, we can't take away all their spades first. Because if we take away all 3 of their spades, we've only got 1 trump left in dummy. So remember earlier I said, I think I foolishly said it's always a good idea. Well, it's not always a good idea to take away all of their trump. Not if you need them for something important.
And so you would have to gauge like what you think the other people have as to whether you could do something like that.
That's correct. You would have to gauge it.
Mm.
Now let me click this one more time, and then let me talk about that a little bit without getting kind of too technical. The spades are probably going to go 2-2 or 3-1. They're probably not going to go 4-0, but they might. How many hearts do we have in our hands, us and dummy?
4.
4. So how many do they
4.
have?
9.
9. So if we take the ace, for them to trump the second heart, how do those 9 have to divide? 8 and 1.
Oh, wow.
I'm not very worried about that,
Mhm.
right? I'm going to play the ace of hearts, and then I'm going to play another heart, and I'm going to trump it. But if this guy over here is going to over trump it, it meant he started with 1. So this guy started with 8. Man, there's no way.
Well,
They would have been in the bidding,
Right.
right? So in fact, even 7-2 is pretty darned unlikely. Even 7-2 is pretty darn unlikely. But that's a great comment. These presentations are only as good as the questions and comments. So thank you.
Well,
Kyle.
would you lead one trump first just to see how they split
Just to
before
test the
you did
waters.
that? Yeah.
Yeah, I would. Here's what I would do. What I would do is I would win the first one in my hand. And then I would ruff one in dummy because I'm pretty sure they're not 8-1.
Right, of course.
And then I would lead a spade back to my hand. And then I'd probably lead another heart. And
So while those
No one could overcome the jack of spades.
yes, when I ruff it in dummy,
Shush.
they're high,
Phil,
right? They can't over trump.
Nobody can overcome.
And in fact, and this is why this game is so much fun. Which spade are we going to trump with? The ace. Because now we'll lead the jack and we'll overtake it so that we're back in our hand to finish the job.
Yeah.
Isn't that cool?
Very.
I mean, how cool is bridge?
I was going to suggest that when you're talking about this line of play of getting rid of playing a heart trick, winning the heart trick with the ace, and then playing on roughing the second one, I might suggest roughing it with a jack, because you got the ace, king, queen, and 10 that could get you out of a 4-0 split. And the thing is, they can't over trump the jack.
Yep, I agree. There's probably no downside to roughing the first time with the jack. I'm going to have to come back to my hand with something. And then I'm going to ruff another one. Then I'm going to have to come back to my hand again. I'm going to have to use the ace of diamonds to come back to my hand the last time, I think. But anyway, that's what's so fun about this game. So let's recap what we just talked about. You can eliminate losers if you rough them in dummy. So here are the two examples. One was we roughed this low heart. We had the ace and two small and the king and one. We roughed this one low heart in dummy. And as Ted is pointing out, you know, we might as well take the king, come back to the ace and rough high. Probably take a round or two of trump first. In fact, in that case, we'd take 3 rounds of trump because we only need 1 in dummy. And then the second hand, we were going to rough 2 hearts in dummy. So we eliminated losing cards in our hand by trumping them in dummy or roughing them in dummy.
Bill, don't you
Yes.
need to preserve two trump in your hand to rough the diamonds that are left?
We're going to get to that point.
Oh, okay.
We actually, and this is it turns out it's a very subtle point. Let's think of our hand down here as the main hand. So we're going to take 5 spade tricks, and we're going to take a heart trick, and we're going to take 2 diamond tricks, and we're going to trump these 2, and we're going to give up these tricks.
Yeah.
We don't actually have to trump any diamonds in our hand.
Are you talking about the lower one or the upper one?
Either one.
Oh.
We don't actually have to trump anything in our hand. So let's imagine.
You're gonna lose those 3 clubs no matter what.
Oh, yeah. You'll be
Yeah.
left trump, right?
Yeah,
So-
if this is our hand,
Right.
basically the idea is we don't ever have to play any more diamonds.
Right.
And if the bad guys get in and take their clubs and then they lead a diamond, then we'll trump it. But we don't actually have to plan to trump anything in our hand. And we'll see in a minute, the reason for that is that trumping in what's called the long hand doesn't really add any tricks. And it's very counterintuitive. But let's try to get there. And by the way, with more and more time at the table, you'll be able to look at a situation like this and it'll just be reflex. You know, oh, I got 3 club losers, a heart loser, I'll rough the heart in dummy. Boom. And that's how you make your plan. And you do it. So here's some important terminology that I kind of alluded to. This is the first hand. This is called the short trump hand. This is called the long trump hand. And usually the short trump hand is in dummy, but not always. So I'm going to show an example on the next page. Sorry, I thought I was going to do better with one cough drop, but let me try another one. So this is a classic example of declarer being in the short trump hand. And we're going to talk about something called Jacobi transfers in week 23. But some of you have heard about them. So let me just explain real briefly the bidding on this hand. So South is the dealer. And the purpose of the bidding conversation is to figure out what suit do we want to play in and how high. So South has, we'll learn later, well, many of you already know, but we'll learn later, South has 4, 6, 10, 17 high card points in a balanced hand. So South tell partner, I have 15 to 17 high card points with a balanced hand. North immediately knows that you have the strength for game and that you want to play in hearts. So my mom in 1968 would have bid for heart. But today we have superior technology called Jacobi transfers. So North bids 2 diamonds which instructs South to get 2 hearts. And now North places the contract in 4 hearts.
Mhm.
And there's a couple of things that are different about that. If my mom were doing it, who would be the declarer?
The weaker hand.
The weaker hand.
The North hand. With this technology, South is the declarer.
Hmm.
And everybody's going to tell you the reason to do this is to keep the strong hand hidden.
Mhm.
But in week 23, we'll discover that there are 2 or 3 more important reasons. One of which is, suppose you're declarer with South and they lead a spade. How do you feel? You feel really good. It's
Yeah.
going to come around and you're guaranteed 2 spade tricks.
What week are we in now?
6. If they lead a club, it's going to come around and you're guaranteed no club losers. To me, that's the real big benefit of Jacoby transfers, is it means that the big strong hand has the lead coming around to it. Back in my mom's day, if North were declarer and this guy led a black card, well, you got to guess, do I finesse the club? Yes or no. Do I finesse the spade? Yes or no. But remember, we talked about the idea of positional advantage.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yes.
When you have holdings like ace, queen, you want to be declarer. So the opening lead comes around to you. So that's intermediate bridge, baby. And we're there.
I have a question.
Yes.
Is it, I found it most circumstances when I've been playing around to have it's much easier to control and manipulate the trump if like I have a 6-3 split rather than 4-4 or so was that ever considered an advantage to have more on one side than the other?
Short answer, the more trump you have, the better. Long answer, turns out that a 4-4 fit usually takes 1 more trick than a 5-3 fit, but we're not going to get there even in week 26.
Okay.
So let me come back to this. So this time the contract is 4 hearts by South. So South is the short trump hand.
Hmm.
Do we care?
No.
It depends on how the play, where everything is.
I care. It's the most important topic that we're going to talk about today. And it's really only the most important topic because people forget it and they rough in the long hand. So let's go ahead.
How can you say that that's the short trump when they have 4 and the North has 2?
4 hearts is the
Hearts.
contract. Yeah.
Oh, heart. I'm sorry. I thought it was,
That's okay.
I'm sorry. I see
No,
now.
that's good.
You're right. I'm sorry.
That's good. So so the message here is that roughing in the long hand doesn't add any tricks.
Mhm.
Let's take a look at this heart suit. You're taking 6 heart tricks. There's no ifs, ands, or buts, right?
Right.
You're taking 6 heart tricks.
Mhm.
Suppose you spend one of your hearts in North trumping a little spade.
Okay.
You just used a trick you were going to win anyway. You were going to win all 6 of these heart tricks. And if you trump a spade over here, you didn't add anything.
Okay.
This is the most important and elusive fact in today's talk.
And
Roughing in the long trump hand doesn't add any tricks. It may prevent the bad guys from running a bunch of tricks, but it doesn't actually add anything. So
Well,
let's go
Can I
ahead.
ask, what if you need that trump for transportation? Does that
Yeah,
count?
that your trumps in the long hand may be good for stopping the bad guys from taking tricks. They may be important for transportation.
Okay.
but they don't add any tricks to your total.
I got it. Okay.
But
I
let's
understand now.
let's imagine for a minute. And I work with some people who, are kind of intermediate players, and I'm not sure that this has really sunk in. It's a super important point, but it's counterintuitive. So let's imagine that we've called Trump, 2 rounds of Trump, and they follow. And now we take the ace of diamonds and we take the king of diamonds, and now we lead the 3 of diamonds and we trump it in dummy. Now we've added a trick. Right? We're still going to get these 6 heart tricks, but we've added one.
But you obviously haven't you haven't gone 3 rounds of Trump to pull out all the Trump yet.
Correct. I'm going to hope Trumps are 2-2. But if they're not, I'm just going to take a little teeny tiny risk and ruff the 3rd diamond before I finish calling Trump.
Okay. Cool. Then how will you get back into your?
Oh, let's not worry about that.
Okay.
Would you go back to that other page?
I would be delighted.
Right, thank you. So when you say that, okay, you're gonna play the 3 of diamonds and then you trump it with the 4 of hearts, that's adding a trick, or?
Yes, that adds a trick. Let's count how many tricks we can take. 6 hearts and a couple of diamonds and a couple of aces. And maybe we try a finesse or 2. But this 3 of diamonds is a really stinky little card. If we can trump it, we've added a trick to our total. Instead of playing all of these hearts on top of all of these hearts, we've got this one heart that gets to kind of stand on its own and take its own trick. Does that?
Yeah.
Would you try to finesse the clubs or the spades before you do the diamond thing?
Personally, I would, because I'm greedy.
Okay.
Yep. I
Me too.
mean, it would depend what the opening lead is and all that
Yeah.
stuff. But my plan for the hand would be to go over to the king of diamonds, try the club finesse.
Gotcha. Okay.
And if it works, then I'm going to call a couple rounds of Trump, go back to the ace of diamonds, repeat the club finesse. Probably pitch a spade. Anyway, I digress. That's beyond today.
How do you decide when not to pull Trump? Is there a
That's a
specific?
great question.
Yeah.
How do you decide when not to pull Trump? And the answer is when you need them,
Hmm.
when you can't afford to use them up too early.
So when you've made your plan,
You make your plan, and then and if it requires using some of dummy's Trump, you need to make sure you maintain them.
Yeah, yeah.
So again, this is one of the hands that we looked at. The short Trump hand. Okay, so we're back in 4 spades. The short Trump hand is usually dummy, and here we would ruff a heart to add a trick. We got 5 spade tricks, ace king, that's 9 tricks, and we'll ruff this heart to get trick number 10. And in this case, we've got, let's not worry about the finesses. I should have set these up so there weren't finesse possibilities. There's 6 heart tricks, 7, 8, 9, 10. Oh my goodness, we're going to make 4 hearts. Do we just take all our tricks?
Sure.
No, we're greedy. We try to take more. So we would, sorry, I clicked that too fast. We would ruff a diamond in the south hand, which in this case was actually declarer. And we already talked about this, but I actually had it as a slide. Sometimes you want to ruff high. And every now and then I put a banner up here, and I think this one's maybe kind of advanced beginner. Your plan on this hand was to take away their trump and then lead to the king of hearts, high from the short side, come back to the ace of hearts, and then lead a heart and rough it in dummy. And we were going to take a couple of trump tricks to get started. But West over here, person on the left discarded on the very first spade trick. So that means East has 4 spades. We have 5, dummy has 4, that's 9. They have 4, usually going to break 2-2 or 3-1. But we got unlucky, and East has all 4 of them. So if we take away all 4 of the trump, we're going to be left with this heart loser. And that's the question you ask, is when do you not take away their trumps? And the answer is when you need them. So we have to rough before we take away all their trump.
Yeah.
So we'll play over to the king, back to the ace, and then we'll rough the last heart. And then we can finish taking their trump. But what if East has only 2 hearts? If we rough with the 2 or the 3, East will over rough.
But
So we
I
should do
thought
the
you
jack.
said the East didn't have any trump.
It's West. It's West who doesn't
Oh.
have any trump. Yeah.
Oh, okay,
Yeah, West doesn't have any trump. All 4 trumps are over here.
all right.
So this is what we talked about before. We'll
Take it with the jack.
Yeah,
I don't know, we'll take the first trick over there, and we'll play a spade over to the 10. By the way, if I'm going to play out of my hand and I have the ace, jack, king, queen, 10, I play the 10 first. You know, yeah, maybe I'd fool the bad guys more if I played the king or the queen, but now I'm looking at the king and the queen, and I'm not going to forget that they're high. If I play the king right away, then it's like, oh gosh, there's the ace, jack, and what happened to the king? Right? For me, at my age, managing my memory load is the most important thing. So I get the bad news that this guy has no spades and this guy has all the spades. So I'm going to cross my fingers and take 2 heart tricks and hope he follows suit. And then I'm going to lead a heart and I'm going to rough it high. And he can't over rough. And now I'm going to go ahead and finish pulling his or her trump. We like that hand?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it happens. It happens. You know, sometimes you want to rough high. Most interesting thing I see at the table is people who rough high too early. It's like, oh my God, what if he over trumps? I'll use the jack. And then he follows suit. And then the next time around, it's like, well, I must be safe. And you rough with the 2 and they over rough. But that's why this game is so freaking hard and fun. One of the terms that I think is helpful is to look at dummy and think of dummy as containing assets that will help you in your play. So let's look at dummy here. So we're playing a 4-spade contract again. Let's look at dummy. What assets does dummy have that are helpful to us as declarer?
Singleton.
Singleton, absolutely. Yeah, the singleton is a hugely important asset. What other assets?
Kings.
King of diamonds, yeah, that made this loser go away. And king of spades, that assuming spades go 3-2, you know, now we don't have any spade losers. So this is actually a wonderful dummy. You know, when this person, when this person North picked up her hand, do you think she was excited?
No.
No, but it turns out that she has exactly the cards her partner needs to make 4 spades. But I digress. So again, this is almost kind of advanced beginner. South, you know, the king of diamonds, I should have put the arrow in. The king of diamonds will take care of the 5, but it looks like we might have 5 possible losers. What could we do about any of those losers?
Lead a heart as soon as you can.
Yes, our plan is to rough 2 hearts in dummy because that singleton heart is a huge asset. And
Yeah,
we're going to take advantage of it. But if you take away their trumps first, back to the question we had earlier, you don't have any remaining in dummy.
Right.
So this is why it's so important to have a plan. Because if you just reflexively call trump, you're going to be left with two heart losers. But if you have a plan to ruff two hearts in dummy, you'll start out by winning the first trick with the ace of clubs. Do you guys like it when I do the annotation thing?
yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So there's the king of clubs lead and we win the ace. Unfortunately, I have to turn that off then to be able to click to the next thing. So now we'll lead a small heart. Actually, I'll just do it without doing the text. So we lead a small heart and we just give up a heart,
Mm-hmm.
right? We're going to lose it anyway, so let's lose it
Yeah.
now.
Lose it early.
And then suppose they get back in and let's suppose they're friendly and they lead a diamond. We'll just take the ace and we will
Do our hearts.
we'll ruff a heart over to dummy.
Yeah, but if they lead clubs again,
Yeah, I know, that's tough.
Yeah, that's actually interesting. Let's
They're gonna lead clubs, right?
and this gets a little more advanced. But we give up the heart. So what's going on in the club suit at this point?
They've got all winners.
Small.
We had 5 and they had 3.
They've got the
I'm
queen.
sorry,
jack
we
10.
had 5 and 3 as a COVID brain. So they only have 5. So they took the king and now we give them a heart and maybe they take the queen of clubs.
Yeah,
And now maybe they take the jack of clubs.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And if they play another one, we can trump it.
And
In fact, if they do that, our clubs are now good.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
we would just call trump, go over to the king of diamonds and win the clubs.
Bill,
Yeah.
Yes.
what, in answer to the thing about what if they led clubs back, we've already counted those 2 clubs as losers. So we don't care if they throw a club back. We don't.
Perfect. Thank you, Joel. Thank you, Joel. Yes, that's perfect. We don't care. So we do put that green jacket on. We don't care. Okay, so
Okay. As the use, I'm so used to, playing the trump first, getting their trumps out. But this is so brilliant and never, not necessarily working that way.
yeah. Usually you want to take their trump away. We'll talk about that next week. But you know me, I like to work next week's topic into this week's, right? So next week we'll talk about, usually you want to call trump or pull trump or draw trump, whatever verb you like. You want to get the little children off the street so that they can't use them to take tricks that they don't deserve. But when you need to use the short hands trump, you gotta wait. So
I would like to just comment that I found it very revealing and helpful that even though it's going to be more work, because I'm going to have to count more, I'm going to have to count everything. That's what I realized, that I count, of course, but I hadn't extended it
Yeah.
to your whole thing about the clubs, and in the end, you're going to get the clubs anyway. So it's
Yeah.
really great. Thanks.
Yeah. And I can't count all the suits. But I can pay attention to the suits I care about. So like on this hand, I'm going to remember that they have 5 spades and they're probably going to be 3-2. And I probably don't have much to worry about. I'm going to look at the hearts and say, they got so gosh darn many hearts that I'm not worried about them running out and over trumping me. So I'm never going to count the hearts on this hand. I just don't care. But whenever I see a 5-card suit in dummy, I always think, aha, that little 3, that might be a trick. And with a suit like clubs, I'll pay attention. I won't count the diamonds, but I'll count the 2
Okay.
black suits on
Yeah,
this hand.
yeah.
Great comment.
So which one of the losers are you gonna turn into a winner?
What I'm gonna do is I'm going to end up giving away one heart trick. I won't mark that, but one of the hearts I'm gonna trump in dummy, and then the second heart I'm also gonna trump in dummy.
Okay.
So that's what I'm gonna do.
And what did you say about the 3 of clubs, making that a trick?
Well, how many clubs do we have in north-south?
8.
8. How many do they have?
5.
5,
How are they probably gonna split?
3, 2.
So if they play the king, they get back in and they take the queen jack, they're out of clubs.
Oh.
I'm the only, dummy's the only one with clubs. Let's walk through that because that's fun, and what the heck, I always run late anyway.
So then you have to save the diamond, the king of diamonds.
Yeah, so let's imagine they take the king of clubs, they lead the king of clubs, we give up a heart. They cash the queen of clubs, and they cash the jack of clubs. And now they don't have any more clubs.
Do we think that they led the king of clubs because they had 3?
We think they have the queen. We'll talk about
Queen
opening.
and the jack.
Yeah.
Okay,
Well,
Okay,
maybe the
he's
jack,
the
maybe
queen.
not.
Maybe not, yeah.
thanks.
So anyway, now we're going to change tactics. You know, suppose they lead a diamond. We're just going to, whoops, sorry, wrong place, undo. We're going to take the diamond in our hand, and we're going to call trumps over to the king, back to the queen, play the ace. And now we still have our 2 heart losers, but we're going to lead over to the king, and we're going to cash our clubs
And do
and-
clubs.
and pitch our hearts. Isn't this game wonderful?
It always looks so good when you talk about it. It's not always we're playing.
Well, I just bought a book called The Art of Declare Play. I cannot understand the first hand.
Wow.
So, you know, there's levels within levels here. So again, here's an example of using dummies assets. Let's imagine that South is playing 2 hearts. And I do want to talk through the bidding on this one. Because in bidding, one of the biggest problems I have is convincing people that when you're responding 1 no trump, it's really different than when you're opening 1 no trump. So again, the purpose of bidding is to figure out what suit and how high. And so South deals. And for those of you who've been counting points and thinking about opening bids and stuff, South has 6, 10, 12 high card points and 2 for length. South has a beautiful 1 heart opening bid. What should North bid? Does North have enough points that she has to say something?
Yes.
For those of you who've been around, she's got 6 high card points.
6 high card points. She's got to say something.
Yeah, South could have 19 or 20. So North has to say something.
Yep.
What should North say?
1 no trump.
1 no trump.
1 no trump.
Even though it only has 6 points?
Yes, yes.
That's
We only
Yes.
need 6 points it doesn't mean anything than the regular respond bid to bid 1 no trump?
Yeah.
Oh,
It's-
okay.
It's completely different.
Yeah,
Well-
I had no idea, yeah.
Yeah,
It also implies not enough support in hearts.
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. What it says is I have 6 to 9 high card points. I cannot raise your hearts. And by the way, if I had a 4-card spade suit, I'd bid the 4-card spade suit. So what this bid really says is I have 6 to 9 points and there's no other bid I can make. And I know people get freaked out by the fact that you're bidding 1 no trump with this crazy shape hand. But I went and I looked on the internet. The word run has 645 different meanings in the Oxford English Dictionary, and that's only the verb form of run. So it's okay for us to have one no trump mean maybe two different things. Okay.
Well, it's in response. It's not an opening bid.
Exactly.
I
And then
just never
South is,
knew what it meant.
yeah, and we'll get to this, but I think it's important to see kind of the preview so that it'll almost sound familiar when we get to it. So
It's a
South
demand
is
bid.
South
would
is, so go ahead.
What would it
It's a
be if
demand
you
bid.
responded to no Trump?
Different people play different agreements. For us, a bid of two no Trump would probably mean we have 10 or 11 points.
Okay, okay.
So anyway, South is going to end up playing two hearts. South's two heart bid says, I got a 6-card heart suit. I got not much else to say. So it looks like South has 6 possible losers. 1, 2, 3, 4, the ace of hearts, and a club. Any ideas? How about roughing some spades in dummy?
You can try.
Do we like that?
Sure.
Yeah. So our plan is rough 2 spades in dummy. Remember we talked about assets? This singleton and the 2 trumps, it's a huge asset.
Oh, yeah.
Would you lose
Okay.
to the ace of clubs early?
Well, we'll get to that in a minute. So your plan is to rough 2 spades in dummy. And then we'll talk about this in a minute. We've got the ace queen of diamonds and the king of diamonds. Maybe we can throw the 3 of clubs away on the king of diamonds.
Ace of clubs.
So
Then you can rough in your hand.
then we'll finally get around to hearts. So let's suppose that West continues with the king of spades. So West has played 1 spade trick and continues with another one.
Okay.
Here's what we're going to do.
But why would they do that, seeing that you're void now and dummy?
Yes, you're anticipating the next slide. Thank you.
Sorry.
But you'll see a lot of people do it. So we would rough it in dummy, and then we would come over to our hand and we would cash the queen of diamonds to get it out of the way. Technical term is unblock. And then we would rough a 2nd spade in dummy. And then we would lead the, I guess one of these has got to be the king of diamonds. So let me mark that up with the annotation tool. So they take the ace of spades. They've got 1 trick and they play another spade, which we trump.
Okay.
So 1 loser is gone away. And now we come back over to our hand.
Okay.
And we take a deep breath and cash another diamond. And we rough another spade. So another loser has gone away. And now we play the king of diamonds. We had 7 diamonds, right?
Yeah.
How many do they have?
6.
How are they likely to split?
4-2.
4-2 is most likely, but 3-3 isn't far behind. And so if this person follows suit, we'll cross our fingers and throw away the 3 of clubs.
Okay.
And if we're super lucky, look what happened. We're only going to lose 2 spades and a heart. So if we're super lucky on all this stuff, whoops, I forgot to erase the. If we're super lucky on all this stuff, we'll take 10 tricks or 9.
Bill, I have a question. I had to leave for a minute.
Yep.
But how did you get to 2 hearts? Because you don't know that the dummy you have 6. You don't know that the dummy has 2. They could be void in it, actually.
They could be.
So, I mean, how did you get to 2 hearts? Let's assuming that they didn't have the 2 hearts.
Yeah.
In
Well,
the dummy.
have you ever played in a 6-0 trump fit? I have. It happens.
Okay.
in fact, when we get to bidding, everybody's scared about making the wrong bid. My wife, Dana, and I played in the national championships at a low level in New Orleans, which is where she caught COVID and how I got COVID, but I digress. And when we talk about bidding, in the first presentation, I'm going to show you 4 different hands where people ended up in things like a heart contract in a 3-1 fit, or 7 spades in a 4-2 fit, looking at 10 diamonds. You know, it happens. Anyway, so the short story is South had a nice 1 heart opener. North bids 1 no trump, which says I have 6 to 9 points. Nothing I can bid at the 1 level. Can't raise you. South says, well, I'm going to bid my hearts again because I have 6 of them. And I have a, relatively minimal hand. And then North says, good luck, partner, and passes.
Thank you.
My partner, I should have bid differently this time, but my partner once played 1 heart down 5. It happens. No bloody nose, no damage. So I'm getting close to time, so I'll do this a little quicker. This is essentially the comment that somebody made earlier. This is the exact same hand.
Okay.
Opening lead is the ace of spades. Our plan as South was to start trumping spades and dummy. So here's West's hand, right? West led the ace of spades. What should West be thinking as soon as she sees the dummy? Oh my God, Declare is going to trump my good spade tricks in dummy.
Wait till we spent them. Wait till we're out.
That's where they should
pull their trump.
The ace of hearts.
Yeah, Joel, baby.
I hate doing that. It makes.
What
It
should
was
West?
I
big.
hate leading the
Visual.
opponent's trump. It's so
West is thinking, oh my God, she's going to rough spades in dummy.
Yep.
What can I do?
Lead the ace of hearts.
Lead the ace of hearts and then another heart. And the hearts are gone from dummy.
Mhm,
And South has 3 more spade losers with nowhere to go.
mhm.
If West makes that switch, South will take only 7 tricks, not 9.
Yeah.
Isn't bridge wonderful?
Phil, on this bidding here,
Yeah.
when South went to 2 hearts,
Yep.
indicating 6, could North have gone to 3 hearts because now they know they have 8?
I don't know.
That's a really good point. North knows they have a heart fit. And if North had more strength, North would be willing to bid more.
More than 6.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. North's hand is just too weak, but
Yeah.
that's excellent. There are certainly times, and in one of the hands that we'll play, the dummy raises with a doubleton after South has shown 6. So let me go through review of what we did a couple of weeks ago or maybe it was last week, planning the play of a no trump hand. We would count the tricks we can take immediately, but we wouldn't take them immediately. We would not shoot off our winners. And we would look for ways to take more tricks. We'd set up honor cards, we'd establish long suits, we'd take finesses. And if we've got our wits about us, we'll think about entries and do we need to hold up a trick 1? That was all the good stuff from last week. And of course, a quote from my mother, no trump is a race, who can establish their tricks first. What we're going to do next week is plan the play of a suit contract, which is completely different. In a suit contract, you're in control because of your trump suit. So we're going to flip the script. Instead of counting winners, we're going to count losers, which we did today without doing it formally. We're going to count losers and ask, how can we get rid of them? And we're going to pick the hand with the long trump suit. We're going to count the losers, and we'll do this slowly next week. And And then we're going to look for ways to eliminate losers. And one of the big ways to get rid of losers was our focus today, trumping them in dummy. And we could also discard them on winners in dummy or take finesses. So there we go. We all survived COVID brain.
Mhm.
Go back 2 slides.
I will do that in a second.
Okay, thanks.
This makes me so hopeful.
Absolutely. This one or before?
The one before. Okay. Get rid of my hearts in the uppers.
Yeah,
And
and then go back to homework. I haven't,
I'll paste the homework into the chat.
Okay, then, okay, I think. I'm trying to.
And I'll go back to the homework page.
I'm trying to get in my mind, if I see that North only has 2 hearts, oh, then she's gonna trump all the rest of my hearts.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, let me go ahead and annotate it. So West leads the ace of spades and of course can't see anything else.
Mhm.
But West is anticipating that South will trump spades in dummy. So West cashes her ace of hearts and plays another heart.
Yeah.
And even if she finesses her partner in hearts, this was a trick that declarer was going to win anyway. It hasn't really cost anything.
Right.
Defense
can we go back to the homework? I can't hold my camera this long.
Oh, I'm so sorry. And yeah,
Stop at this one. Oh,
let me get to the homework so she can take her picture.
Just do a print screen.
Okay.
Okay, and all of these presentations are available on the internet. It's, you know, for some people, it's not so easy to get to them. Was
Yeah.
there a question?
I wanted to see the screen before this, please.
Sure, absolutely. And this is what we're going to do
Thank
next
you.
week. I just wanted to preview it today.
Thank you.
Okie doke. And the Bridgemaster homework, the first one I think is straightforward. The next one is one of those where you can't afford to call Trump. And the last one is the rare cross rough hand. They're actually quite rare, which is why I didn't spend time on them. And that's the story.
Thank you.
Good story.